Hey guys, Clover here. I know it's been a while since I last made a theory, but I'm back from my break, and with this fast theory, I want to focus more on Chapter 3, and also, later today or tomorrow, I will also be having a Chapter 4 theory coming out. If you haven't already, it means a lot if you subscribed. I've made a bet with my dad that I can get to 500 by the end of this month, and any support will help. Anyway, enough said, on with the theory. Okay, the first section I want to go over, before anything else, is just to explain how to get to Secret Route, as I feel like a lot of people actually missed out on this. So this is going to be a spoiler-free guide on how to do it. There will be a few spoilers for the actual game, but if you've played Chapter 3 but missed the secret boss route, then just watch this part. And if you just want a recap on how to get it, then watch it also. The easiest way, in my opinion, to get to the S rank rooms is to get an S rank on each board. This may require you replaying it once, but honestly, as the save points are always right before each board, this is quite easy. Once you get to the S rank room, you should follow Ram's instructions and then find something called the Ice Key. I'm not going to explain anything more, because if you haven't played it yet, go do it now. But there's also two other ways to get there. The second way is if you get anywhere between an A rank and a C rank, you can find this guy, who will then give you an S rank for a certain price. I think it's on 1,500 points if I remember. And then after that, just do what you did in the S rank normally. The final thing is, if you somehow want to get a Z rank, which is the lowest rank, you'll then unlock the Z rank room. And this will then give you a secret pathway into the backstage area that the S rank room would usually lead you to. All of these routes work fine, and also, you have to do it after round 2 also. And all of these routes will work the same way in round 2 as round 1. So you can do either one of these for both rounds. Then after doing that, you have to find a different key in the area. And then finally, after doing all of this, you have to return to the backstage area after, right before the tenor fight, where you'll find Ram backstage and you'll start the final game, which will lead to the secret boss. This boss technically isn't the secret boss, but I still call it the secret boss as it fills a similar role. Anyway, that's the main route on how to get there. Now onto the actual story we see within the secret boss room. Okay, next up, I'm going to go over what actually happens in the secret boss room. First of all, the area for this level is a simple rework of the first board of the game. It starts with you walking around the map and not being able to interact with any of the enemies, until you find a sword, at which point you're able to use the sword to kill the enemies. Getting stronger then allows you to destroy more things. First, you'll be able to destroy cacti, which unlocks the second area, and after killing everything in that area, you'll be able to destroy trees as well. After leaving the second area, you can destroy the forest, and then make your way, and once leaving the new area, you can destroy the forest, and once you get lost in the forest, going backwards will make you find a new room with a chest in it, which contains the Ice Key. The next level is similar to the first, being a sequel redo of Board 2, but this time, after you get to a higher enough level, you can find a boat to ride up a waterfall, which allows you to explore the ocean. At which point you can find the ice area, which usually gets blocked off in the normal route. And once you get there, you can explore the ice palace, and you then find a white cloaked figure who will help you solve mazes and freeze unkillable enemies. Then you get to a door that requires you to use up a key, and then once you use up the key, the girl will also be used up. And once you find a person and then talk to them, it will say that you are used up before shutting down the game. The final level takes place in the unused Board 3, which is a city. You have to find a sword and kill Susie and Ralsei who are following you around to level up to get to the next area. Here, you'll find Tender talking to himself, who you have to kill, and then you'll find yourself a recreation of the shelter, which is the new actual official name of the bunker. At this point, you'll have to find the boss for the Shadow Mantle. This item will then help you defeat the secret boss, who is of course the Knight. Now I'm going to say what I think each of these areas means for Deltarune. First of all, the second area is probably the most obvious, being a direct parallel to Chapter 2's Weird Route, with the white cloaked figure obviously being Noelle, and the only person you have to kill with Noelle's freezing power is a blue bird. But this does lead to some negative connotations with the being used up. Obviously, referring to the fact that after you kill Bardley in the Weird Route, Noelle then leaves. Also, the solving the maze bit could be a reference to the fact that Noelle talks about a maze that you just keep on going around in circles forever in one of her blog posts. The first board, I think, is less obvious, but I personally think it's just simply supposed to be showing us what Dragon Blazes was. Because if you remember, there's always an opening title screen, but we never get to read the title, because in a normal route, it just shows the Tenor logo. And then in this thing, the moment it's about to show up, it shows us the no controller message. The third one, at first feels like it's going to be a weird route again, but I don't think that's true. I instead think this is supposed to be a parallel of the secret boss routes. Specifically Spamton, where we have to abandon both Susie and Ralsei, and then in the city go find the secret boss, being the Shadow Mantle. Okay, after you finish each of the areas for the S rank zones, there's a side plot that goes on that not a lot of people talk about. What happens is each time you exit the room, you'll meet Susie and Ralsei, who will be doing something different each time. First time, you'll see that Ralsei was enjoying an RPG, but by the time you get to the third one and the final one, Ralsei is shown to be way more comfortable playing the RPG and even getting through multiple levels and even raging at some levels. This is very clearly showing the fact that Ralsei is becoming more confident and enjoying the idea of being the main character and playing and being in control of how the story progresses, rather than Chris being the one who controls how everything progresses. Okay, now that I've done all of the setup, here is the basic idea for this theory. The main idea of this theory is that at some point we will no longer be able to control Chris, and we will have to use someone else. This is represented by the line, "You are used up," implying the fact that at some point we are going to use up Chris's control. Or control on Chris. A quick spoiler for Chapter 4, but I think this can be represented in the fact that as we continue through the chapters, Chris gets more and more control over their own actions. Like in Chapter 3, being able to select options in the quizzes, and Chapter 4, having a whole section where we are not connected to Chris. This will then lead to the soul possessing Ralsei instead. This is hinted by both the fact that if you look on Ralsei's design, there is a black heart shape on their cloak. This shows that he has an empty soul, which has been mentioned a lot of times when people think Ralsei may be the vessel. So I think that we will then control Ralsei, which also connects the idea of Ralsei wanting to be player 1 now, as we see through Chapter 3 and 4, with Ralsei becoming more comfortable being the main character. I also think the second level is hinting towards the fact that our control of Chris is going to be disconnected in a different and probably worse way than in a normal route. Especially with the idea that we can get the weapon that lowers trance on Chris in the weird route. This will change the circumstances of us controlling Ralsei, and might even make it more negative than positive, with Ralsei no longer being able to have control. Some more evidence of this. In Chapter 3, the idea of Chris being replaced by Ralsei as a playable character mostly begins on board 2. In board 2, we see Susie swap with her character and Chris's controller around, leading to Ralsei being annoyed and confused. Then Susie further swaps it, so Ralsei plays Chris, Susie plays Ralsei, and we play Susie. Ralsei is then able to control the progression of the game as being player 1, and says he enjoys just walking around. At first, he's a little bit less confident with asking us where we should go, but then Susie points out that he's player 1 right now, so he should decide where to go, which leads to Ralsei solving puzzles on his own. This clearly backs up the connection of Ralsei becoming the main playable character, e.g. being player 1. Then Chapter 4 has a little bit less evidence, but the fact that we find Ralsei's room and it's just got nothing in it, but Ralsei allows us to start putting stuff in it, shows the fact that Ralsei's now want to become more of their own person. Also connects to the fact that Chris tells Ralsei, no matter what you pick, that Ralsei should be happy, should be okay, doesn't have to smile, and is allowed to show emotions. This also adds a little bit more of a dark theme to it, because if we do end up controlling Ralsei, it would mean that in order for Ralsei to be able to become the playable character, and to be able to progress the story in their own way, they're going to have to give up their own free will. Which is going to be quite dark, considering the fact that Ralsei at this point would have just been able to become confident enough to be able to continue the story themselves. Also, throughout all of Chapter 4, Ralsei is constantly trying to rush us along and completing stuff on his own, showing the fact he's becoming more confident in doing stuff on his own rather than allowing us to do it. I know this was a bit of a shorter theory and a more simple theory, but this was just the first thing I thought of after beating Chapter 3. So, if you enjoyed it, it would mean a lot to subscribe. And also, maybe check out my other videos. A lot of them will obviously be out of date because this is my first post Chapter 3 and 4 theory, but I still think they could be a fun watch. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.